Welcome in, whiskey freaks, to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. I'm John Stark, and I'll be bringing you whiskey news, opinions, and reviews on the industry and the products they've been bringing us for hundreds of years. Today, we ask the question, are these bourbon tariffs we've been hearing about, are all these bourbon tariffs just a secret plan to make moonshine great again? Is this just economic fallout, or is something bigger at play? As President Trump once probably never said,
I believe we should make moonshine great again.
Well, no matter what he says, we are getting to the bottom of it right here, right now on the pod. No, we will not be doing that. Today we focus on nothing but bourbony goodness because I've got all kinds of things to throw your way, and we might even, I said might, just learn something while we're at it. I've got several new releases to talk about today. The new releases are coming out of the woodwork right now. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Kentucky Bourbon Trail expansion. Believe it or not, they've expanded again. And I want to talk about what the hell is a Glencairn glass. And then lastly, I review something out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Wagon straight bourbon whiskey. So here's the deal. When you hear the name Jackie Zykan, well, it's kind of synonymous with the word bourbon anymore. And this new one she's got, it's Hidden Barn's latest release called Slow Fade. This is the 10th release in their Series 1 lineup, and it's crafted by Jackie and the team at Neely Family Distillery. Here are the deets. It comes in at 106.5 proof. It's a straight bourbon whiskey. It's got a mash bill of 70% corn, 20% rye, and 10% malted barley. It's distilled in a double pot still with, get this, wild Appalachian yeast. Yee-haw! Then, it's aged for 5 to 6 years in 12 barrels before blending. Jackie describes it as a rich and balanced brown butter, black cherry, and orange zest on the nose with dark cacao and hazelnut on the palate. She says the finish is a slow fade, get it, of sweetness with a warm, lingering depth. So a slow fade is no chill filtered. They're trying to keep things a little more traditional. If you're looking to grab a bottle, it's available for around $80 for the $750. Thank you, Jesus, the $750. It is only available in select states and online. So what exactly is wild Appalachian yeast? And I wondered myself. So I took the liberty of looking it up. Wild Appalachian yeast is yeast that naturally grows in the Appalachian region of the United States. And instead of using yeast made in like a laboratory, some distillers use these wild yeast strains from the local air and the environment to create unique whiskeys. These wild strains can sometimes give the whiskeys different flavors and the kind of things that you wouldn't get with a factory-made yeast. Who knew, right? Well, it turns out that even some of the big boys like Woodford and Buffalo Trace, they've occasionally used these wild strains for things like limited releases and for certain experiments that they wanted to do. A lot of smaller distillers use this wild yeast too to create unique flavors, and my guess is it's probably cheaper than buying yeast strains from the guys at Wilderness Trail or other laboratories. I don't know that for sure. I'd like to look into that a little bit more, but it's just something I'm guessing. Either way, we all learned, or at least I learned something new today. So Evan Williams Bourbon is celebrating its 9th year as an official sponsor of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And they've got a special edition single barrel bourbon. It's a 7-year-old bourbon that was distilled back in 2016. It's bottled at 106 proof, and it honors the 70th Kentucky Derby Festival and the 53rd anniversary of the Pegasus Pin. The bottle stands out strong with pink wax. Their words. The bottle stands out strong with pink wax and commemorative 2025 Pegasus Pin in an envelope attached to each bottle. The Pegasus Pins are a key fundraiser for the not-for-profit festival. Well, that's kind of cool. The label features the Kentucky Derby Festival logo. And the special edition is available at the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience in Louisville. I think I saw something the other day on Facebook where it said it would be available on Thursdays. I need to check. Here it is. The special edition. This is from Evan Williams. They said that starting on Thursdays in their retail store in Louisville, they're going to be releasing that Evan Williams Single Barrel 2025 Kentucky Derby Festival edition. So Thursday only. So very interesting. Never really heard of things being done quite that way, but that's how they're doing them. Looks like it's 1 bottle per person, yada, yada, yada. And the price is $89.99. All right, whiskey fans. I haven't said much about these guys in a while. Actually, I don't know if I've said anything about these guys before, but now it's time to mark your calendars. Kentucky Peerless. They're dropping their first ever toasted rye whiskey on March 15th at the Peerless Distillery in Louisville. And the cool thing about this rye is that it goes through a 2-barrel aging process. First, it starts in Peerless standard char level 3-barrel. Then it moves into a toasted barrel, which they say brings out flavors like honey, vanilla, toasted spice, and chocolate. Sounds amazing. And according to Peerless head taster, they use a medium toast to keep the tannins low, which then lets those warm, sweet, and savory notes shine through. Okay, the mash bill. The mash bill of this one is 61% rye, 34% corn, and 5% malted barley. And the proof point is, well, they actually don't say what the proof point is. I looked everywhere. I looked on their website. I looked everywhere. Sorry, don't know what the proof point is. It's not even in their press release. So your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, there'll be a 2-bottle limit per person at the launch, and soon after that, it'll roll out across Kentucky and eventually nationwide. Hopefully, somebody will learn what the damn proof point is. The good folks at Peerless say, if you're into rich layered rye whiskey, this one might be just for you. Whatever the proof may be. Well, Blue Note Bourbon, they're back with its 2nd annual release of Special Reserve Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Now, I don't think I've ever spoken about Blue Note either. They're out of Memphis, for the record. And the distillery's name, Blue Note, it's kind of a nod to Memphis musical heritage. It's the city renowned for deep roots in the music industry. And listen to this. This is kind of crazy. This offering is to me, it's a crazy blend of 10 barrels from both Kentucky and Tennessee. They're finished in like this pile of barrels, including cognac, Madeira, sherry, port, triple sec, apricot brandy, vanilla cognac, and vino de naranja. The casks range from anywhere from 4 to 19 years old. And they blend this stuff together to create a complex and unique flavor profile. Well, I guess so. It sounds like the ultimate infinity bottle, really. But seriously, I have heard good things about their first release of their Special Reserve, so this one might be one to watch, even as complicated as it is. Now, I love this. It's bottled unfiltered at a bold 116.3 proof. They say on the nose, the whiskey features aromas of bright fruit, cherry, peach, leather, oak, and vanilla. The palate is creamy and light with oak, vanilla, roasted nuts, dark chocolate, and citrus notes. It finishes with light warmth and a chewy, slightly dry texture. But here's the bad news. It's limited to only 2,000 bottles, and it's available for just the low price of $225. But it is a 750 milliliter bottle. So anyway, you can find that both on BlueNoteBourbon.com and in 20 states here in America. Okay, this blows my mind here, whiskey freaks. Brace yourself. The Kentucky Bourbon Trail just added. Okay, now remember, it wasn't that long ago we added something like 27 new locations to the trail. Remember that? Well, now the Kentucky Bourbon Trail just added 15 more stops, which brings the grand total to 60. 60.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
As if it wasn't already impossible to make it to all the distilleries, now you've got even more to try and hit up. Assuming you have the time, and the money, and the willpower, and a wife that probably is going to have a boyfriend to keep her occupied. But seriously, who did they add? Well, I'm going to run through these in alphabetical order. And the first one is B.H. James Distillers. That's in Adairville. I don't know where that is and didn't feel like looking it up. Bardstown Bourbon Company. Everybody knows them. They're in Louisville. Becker and Bird Winery and Distillery. They're in Augusta. Bespoken Spirits in Lexington. Now, these are the cats that think you can accelerate the aging process by using science and magic potions and I don't know what they do. They got to wave their wand or something. Anyway, Bespoken Spirits, they've made it to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Amazing stuff. Bluegrass Distillers, they're in Midway. I've been there. I was there for the very first barrel of whiskey they produced. It was not that great, but it was years ago. Be very interested to try something else they have now recently. Buzzard's Roost Spirits is in Louisville now. Chicken Cock Distilling, they're in Bardstown. Garrett County Distilling in Lancaster, Kentucky, and that's hoping to swing by there here in just a couple weeks and check them out when I visit the in-laws. Heaven's Door Distillery, they're in Pleasureville. I don't think Heaven's Door is quite open yet, but they should be soon. And that's one to watch, I think, for great things. And Heaven's Door is pretty decent stuff. So that's good for good old Bob Dylan. Okay, Larrikin Bourbon Company, and this one's in Lawrenceburg. And the cool thing about this one is it's a veteran-owned and operated craft distillery. It's located on Versailles Road there, right in the heart of Lawrenceburg. It was founded by Greg Keeley. He's a combat veteran. He served in both the Australian and U.S. Navies. Wow. The distillery, they say the distillery embodies a blend of Australian spirit and Kentucky tradition. Cool thing about that one, and I don't know if I'm going to get there in a couple weeks because I only got to pick a few distilleries on that weekend. Don't know if I'll make it to Larrikin, but we will be driving right past it there. It's not far from Wild Turkey and Four Roses. Monk's Road Boiler House, Tasting Room, and Chop House, because we needed a great big long name. They are now on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. They are in Louisville. RD1 Spirits, they are going to have a new location soon in Lexington. And this one's cool too, Southern Kentucky Distillery in Burkesville. That's a distillery that was founded in 2022, so it's very fresh. It's a craft distillery near Lake Cumberland and the Cumberland River. So they produce Broadhead Bourbon. It's a 90 proof that's aged 4 years. Slate Fork Moonshine, it's a 20 proof. And Ancient Sun Vodka at 80 proof. SKD currently produces 25 barrels of bourbon daily, and they're aging them there in their 3 bonded warehouses. And of course, they've got plans to expand. They say visitors can enjoy bourbon tours and tasting, experiencing the authentic Kentucky distilling process. The cool thing here is it's located in an absolutely beautiful scenic area of Kentucky. It'd be amazing to stop if you're checking out the Kentucky's lakes or the outdoor activities that are in that part of Kentucky. Put that one on your agenda. Wenzel Distilling Company in Covington. I don't know anything about that one, didn't look it up. And I think everybody's heard of Whiskey Thief Distilling in Louisville. That's amazing. Those guys are supposed to be super cool. Okay, so I guess since over 2.5 million people visit the trail each year, clearly somebody's doing it. But in reality, you really think you're going to make it to every stop? There's 60 of them, guys. Good luck with that. Have fun juggling your job, your family, and the insane number of bourbon bottles you're going to have rolling around in the back of your SUV. And good luck with the divorce attorney, because you're going to need one once the wife finds out how much you spent on your bourbon adventure. But seriously, I guess this is good news. Can we have too much of a good thing? 60 now, 60 places on the Bourbon Trail. I don't know. I don't know how that's humanly possible. If you've done it, or if you're going to do it, send me a note. I'd like to see your agenda, because one of these days I'd love to try it. I've been to bunches of them, but I've never done it all in one shot. So anyway, if you want to share, that'd be great. Let me know what you think. Leaning toward this is kind of getting out of hand here, but that's just me. So you hear the name thrown around on the YouTubes and reviews, at tastings, at your bourbon club. But what exactly is a Glencairn? And what makes it so special? Is it all hype, or is it bullshit? Well, I did some research, because that's what I do. And I do it here for y'all on the pod. And this is what I found out. The Glencairn glass was developed, listen to this. Now, I thought the damn glass had been around since the Middle Ages. The Glencairn glass was developed in 2001. So it's relatively, very new to whiskey and tasting. So it came about in 2001 by Glencairn Crystal. They're a company in Scotland. And they designed it with input from master distillers from major Scotch whiskey distilleries to create a glass that would enhance the whiskey tasting experience. So since then, as we all know, it's become the industry standard for nosing and tasting whiskey all around the world. I try to use a Glencairn here on the pod, and that's for a few reasons. So it's a weird tulip-shaped glass. I'm sure you've all seen them. So why the weird shape, right? Well, the shape, the wide bowl at the bottom lets you swirl the whiskey around and it releases aromas, while that tapered top that's kind of closer together, it helps to concentrate the aromas toward your nose when you're nosing and tasting. Now, it's made from lead-free crystal for clarity. Don't want to say that 3 times fast. And that, again, is so that you can enjoy the color of the whiskey. You can see the legs as you're swirling it and enjoy it. You don't want a bunch of crap on your glass. You don't want a Dixie cup. You don't want anything crazy. You want to have a clear crystal Glencairn. Now, they hold about the standard size holds about 6.5 ounces or like 190 milliliters, but it's really designed to be used with smaller pours than that. You're really going to only want to put 1 to 2 ounces inside that bottle. That way you can fully appreciate the nose and the palate. And I'd always heard folks are getting in big trouble for using the term Glencairn. Like if you talk about the football game they just had in New Orleans, the big game, right? Well, a couple of things about Glencairn. They do, the folks at that crystal company in Scotland, they aggressively defend their trademark. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, are you going to get sued for using the word, or am I going to get in trouble here on my pod? And the short answer is no. You're fine if you just say the word Glencairn in normal conversation or in reviews or like here on the podcast. The longer answer is that Glencairn is a trademark name. So if you're selling glasses, whiskey glasses, you cannot use the word Glencairn. Then you'd be in trouble. But talking about it, using it, or even saying something like, I prefer a rocks glass over a Glencairn. Either way, it's completely safe. Just wanted to clear that up. I know there's been some confusion, at least in recent years, about that. So now you know a bit about that magical glass that we've only been using it for about 25 years now, the Glencairn. All right, now let's get to the fun part, kids. My review. Today, I'm your guinea pig, whiskey freaks. You're welcome. Okay, so today it's freaking ridiculously cold out there. Like it's 3 degrees outside, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm tired of shoveling this damn snow. But there's good news, and at least for right now, for the next couple minutes, I'm going to be cracking open some Wagon straight bourbon whiskey. Now, these cats are out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They've been out there since, I think, around 2012. And they believe, listen to this, they believe good bourbon doesn't have to come from Kentucky. And let me tell you, when I told my wife that, she about lost her damn mind. So today, we're going to put their whiskey to the test. I'm going to run through the deets, and I'm going to start with the company. They're a Nevada H&C distilling company. Like I said, they're in Las Vegas, Nevada. They source their distillate from MGP, and they're open about that. They're honest. They let you know, which is refreshing. MGP, we know, out of Indiana. Then they age the barrels in the Mojave Desert right there in Nevada. So we learned something there too. How about that? Okay, the bottle. The bottle? It is an annoyingly tall, kind of clear glass bottle. This is the base model Wagon. This isn't the other two. There are three offerings in this particular expression. And the reason I say the bottle is annoyingly tall is because it doesn't fit on any of the shelves I have. And all 3 of their offerings are freakishly tall, and that's aggravating. So got that off my chest. The bottle I have here in my hand, it's screen printed on the front. It's got a super cool graphic. It features an embossed design of crossed revolvers. Specifically, the revolvers are the 1873 Colt single action Army revolver. And a lot of you Wild West fans would know it's commonly referred to as the Wagon. And in Old West slang, this gun is also referred to as the gun that won the West. It really symbolizes the rugged American frontier spirit, and the good folks at Wagon say, the crossed revolvers on the bottle play homage to this iconic piece of Western history, aligning with the brand's name and theme. So I paid right at $35 for this. It's a $7.50, thank you very much. Got it here locally in Illinois, and I think that's pretty much the going rate best I can tell. Now the proof, it comes in at we just had to be different, 92.5. I have no idea why. I couldn't find any information why it couldn't be 92. That was not enough. 93 was too much. So we just settled on 92.5. This stuff is no age stated. We know that since it's a straight bourbon whiskey, we know it's at least 2 years old, but rumors are that it's aged 4 years, and we know it's non-chill filtered. They're very proud of that. So we don't know the age, but we're guessing probably it's 4 years old. Now, it was first released in the fall of 2019. It continues to be available pretty much all the time. There's nothing really special about this particular release. The mash bill, on the other hand, is very special. It's a crazy high rye mash bill. It's 60% corn, but it's 36% rye. 36%. And 4% malted barley to round things out. The good folks at Nevada Distilling say, we use barrels with our high rye mash bill that were racked on the top 2 floors of the desert warehouse and never rotated. The higher the floor, the better it gets in the summer, causing more expansion and more movement into the wood. Because we don't chill filter, these combined aspects create a bourbon that is rich and creamy beyond its years. So say the good folks at Nevada Distilling. Today I'm tasting with, guess what? My favorite limestone branch Glencairn. So, if I got that handy, I'm going to crack the bottle open right now and give it a pour. Huzzah! Well, first things first, I always talk about the color. And I always say this too, never judge the color by the bottle alone. This is a clear bottle, but it is screen printed on the front. And the back has a black label with some other doodads and government warnings and so forth on it. So this bottle, again, not terrific to hold up to the light and try to gauge the color. Pour it in your glass. That way you can see the color. And like I always say, it sometimes gives you an idea of the breadth of flavors you're about to put in your mouth. In my opinion, it's not always true, but in my opinion, the darker the hue of the whiskey in your glass, the deeper the flavors you're going to experience. It's not always true, but it is sometimes. And I'm going to mention it just like I did today. This one, let me hold it up to the light a little bit here. It's a light goldish, like a burnished gold color. I mean, it looks promising, even for what probably is a pretty young bourbon. We're guessing right about 4 years. Let me give it the nose and see what we got. Right away, I'm picking up a nice vanilla and oak. They're very light, though, on the nose. But it's pleasant. There's some caramel in the mix. Not exactly making a grand entrance here, folks, but it's nice. Yeah, the whole nose is kind of weak overall, but not terrible. Good news, though. There's almost zero alcohol coming through here, really, like totally zero. So there's that. Let me give it a swirl and another sniff. I've got a little extra time today on the pod, so. Okay. Now I'm getting maybe some barrel char, but the vanilla and oak, they're still prevalent. They're still leading the way here. They're not letting too much else get in the way. It kind of makes me wonder what level of char they used on these barrels. If anybody knows, let me know. Again, I couldn't find that out. Okay. All right, there's something in here. And I was hoping I was just imagining this, and I guess maybe I could be in some ways. There's a weird funkiness in here, and I can't quite place it. It's there. Almost like a slightly sour note. I mean, it's kind of bordering on like a citrusy, lemony note, but it's got some funk to it. It's really clashing with the rest of the notes in here. It's not killing the whole vibe. Yeah, but it's there. Yeah, let's see what that's all about. Let me get a sip here. All right, wow. Yeah, this is definitely a high rye bourbon. There is no doubt about it. The caramel comes through strong, but so does this rough kind of punchy oak note. It's kind of rough. And then you get this bang, like that classic peppery spice from the rye. Actually, in a good way. I do enjoy a high rye bourbon, and this definitely fits the bill. Okay. I'm kind of surprised by the mouthfeel. It's really solid. It's nice, actually, and especially for what I'm guessing is a pretty young bourbon. That part, very cool. I like that a lot. The mouthfeel, very nice. Let me get another sip real quick. That damn sour note, it's still there. It's faint, but it's definitely noticeable. It makes me think of the aftertaste. I'm not trying to belittle this bourbon because I know they're doing good things at Smoke Wagon, but you know that aftertaste you get, those of you who know what the mail is and like sending letters in the mail, it's that aftertaste you get after licking an envelope. And it's faint, right? It's not like you'll just rain your tongue across the envelope and you got that gum on you. It's very, very light. Let me get another sip. Okay, so along with that nice caramel and vanilla, I'm actually getting some leather here and just a little, a hit of tobacco notes here on the finish. Just a tinge. And the finish, it's super cool. It's a nice medium finish, and I'm getting that warm. It's not a burn in the throat, but I'm feeling the warmth. That 92.5, to me, it's drinking a little hotter than 92.5. In not a bad way, in not a great way. It's an okay thing. Now, with that mouthfeel, it's kind of weird to me that the finish would be like the way it is. But yet here we are. And if I'm being honest, I'm kind of okay with that. So what's the verdict? I'll have the answer right after the money spot. All right, whiskey freaks, let's be real. This podcast ain't free to make. And my wife, well, she's got questions about where all the money's going. So if you've ever enjoyed an episode here on the Blind Tasting Podcast and thought, man, this guy deserves a drink, well, now here's your chance. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/blindtastingpodcast. Toss a few bucks in the tip jar. It'll keep the podcast rolling, and it helps me prove to my wife that somebody out there thinks this was a good idea. Thanks for the support, whiskey freaks. That's buymeacoffee.com/blindtastingpodcast. Just a buck or two if you love what you're hearing. It's so appreciated, guys. Cheers to all of you. Now let's get back to the bourbon. So if you've been paying attention here on the Blind Tasting Podcast, you know there are 3 verdict options. Are we going to keep it? Are we going to collect it? Or are we going to cull it? Now, to keep it means to proudly display it in your liquor cabinet or bar. This stuff's good for a pour anytime, but there's really no need to stock up on it since it's always available. Collect it. Grab another bottle, or maybe 2 since you find it so damn delicious, or it just may not be easy to get your hands on. Or cull it. Use it to loosen rusty bolts or sanitize a dirty toilet. In the case of Smoke Wagon straight bourbon whiskey, I say, keep it. Well, sorta. Y'all hate when I do that, right? Look, I'm still trying to figure out what in the hell this weird note could be, and I'm not thrilled with it. Overall, the notes in here are delightful, okay? And I'm trying to give this stuff a fair shake, guys. But I'm thinking, could it just be my bottle? Could it be, did something get a little bit sideways during the aging process? I know they age it there in the super dry, hot area of the desert, right? So I know that heat, that constant heat can do different things, right? We know it's MGP distillate, but it is aged in the desert. It's hot, it's dry, and maybe those conditions lead to just a tinge of weirdness. I feel like this might be tannins in here. Like too much from the hot aging process without that. You know how you get the cold temperatures so that the distillate moves in and out of the wood, so you're balancing it out, right? You're getting tannins, but then at the same time you're getting the sweet notes, the caramel, the vanillas, and they balance out. I don't know, could I have gotten a not so amazing bottle? I just can't separate that funky note out. This to me is just an average pour. It's not great, but I'm not going to get rid of the bottle. I do think I can enjoy it. It's different. It's different. And I don't know, what have you experienced with Smoke Wagon, the 92.5? I'm interested to hear. This is obviously my opinion, my experience here, and I'm sharing it with you as truthfully as I can. So the verdict is keep it, like I said. That's going to be the verdict. But I'm not going to be buying another one, guys. Now, the bottle, super cool. It's got that whole Wild West thing going on if you're into the Wild West, Wyatt Earp and all those guys. It's pretty cool. And like I said, that the 1873 revolvers on the front, very, very cool looking. Again, it's annoyingly and freakishly tall. So if you have a shelf or a cabinet that can handle it, or its brothers, that'd be great. But I think next time I'm going to pass at the liquor store. But the next time I'm at a bar, I think I'm going to get a pour. I really want to be certain. Maybe it's what I ate or drank today. I had too much coffee earlier today. I don't know. But I'm just telling you what I'm experiencing right now. Now, I love their whole shtick of aging it in the desert. You know, they're like the Jeffersons of the sand dunes, right? No, I don't mean like George Jefferson. I mean Jefferson's Ocean. Don't be stupid. And truth be told, I have heard good things about Smoke Wagon. But this bottle, this tasting, today, like I said, I'm not going to pour it out. I promise. But the best it'll get is probably mixed in a Coke or an Ale 8 or something like that. I'm just not drinking it neat. Last but not least, I got to give a shout out to the farmers, distillery production guys and gals, the warehouse workers, the bottlers, and the truck drivers. They're really the ones that make it happen, kids. So cheers to all of them. Well, that's all I got for today, Whiskey Freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your #1 attitudinal bourbon destination.